Okay, hear us out. There is so much potential for a series to tie up some loose ends about some of our favorite Star Wars characters. A series that wouldn't be a cash grab. Cha-ching, cha-ching. Or about agendas no one asked for, but about a proven goldmine of content in the Star Wars universe. Consider this our petition to Lucasfilm, if anyone there watches our videos. At this point in the Legends and canon, we've gotten many renditions and explanations about the clones of the Republic Army before the Clone Wars TV show. And aside from a few Legends examples, we only knew what we're told about the clones in Episode 2, where their massive numbers were finally revealed to the Jedi, and then in Episode 3, when they suddenly betrayed the Jedi. They became so much more relatable and three-dimensional during the animated shows where they were given individual personalities, from the reveal about the inhibitor chip that made them act against their will to carry out Order 66, to Admiral Rampart's destruction of Kamino. We got a lot of answers about these fan-favorite characters, but many questions still remain. Thanks to the Bad Batch, we've been able to see the Army's transition from using clones to recruiting stormtroopers. Along the way, we're given small scenes to show us how these clones, who were brought into existence only as pawns in a Sith Lord's game, began to be forced to retire, sent on missions they weren't expected to return from, or flat out executed with no investigation or punishment. We saw the political struggle by Senator Tucci to give them rights and representation. We also saw Captain Rex's initiative to recruit more and more clones to the cause, while freeing them of their inhibitor chips. But there are still questions regarding many specific clones, such as Commander Cody and Neko. We already know that Wolf and Gregor will end up in an old ATTE walker with Rex by the time of Star Wars Rebels, which takes place more than a decade later. However, we have yet to see the events that led them there. All three of them showed up in the Bad Batch, and we can guess the point at which the three will reunite, but these are events definitely deserve to be depicted on screen. And as mentioned, the fate of Cody and Echo remains unknown, as neither of the two are seen in Rebels. One event the Bad Batch definitely changed from Legends was the story of the Clone Rebellion on Kamino. The show's climactic prison break finale happened on Tantus, which looked to be the end of the canon clone era as we know it. However, during the change of the guard mission in the Battlefront 2 game, Kaminoan clone engineers rebelled against the Empire with a small army of newly created clones. In response, a portion of Darth Vader's 501st Legion swept in to shut it down. In a campaign led by Boba Fett himself, the original narration of this battle by the nameless clone was haunting, to say the least. That mission put an end to the clone era and Legends, but it happened at least a decade after the rise of the Empire. Whereas in canon, not even a year had passed from Order 66 when we saw the destruction of Topoka City, so it's unlikely we'll see that particular video game story wind up in canon. However, since we're living in a new boom of animated series with two anthologies, Tales of the Jedi and Tales of the Empire, there is definitely potential for a Tales of the Rebellion series where the clones could wake up and turn against the Empire in a last stand we haven't seen yet. Thanks to shows like Andor, we've gotten a better look at the beginnings of the rebellion as citizens across the galaxy slowly began to take arms against the Empire's oppression. A Tales of the Rebellion series could tell the story from a different angle even earlier in the timeline from the perspective of Captain Rex, the clone whose eyes we witnessed most of the Clone Wars show through. This series could follow Rex and Echo as they finish recruiting several clones scattered throughout the galaxy, and stage a coup against the wrongful imprisonment we witnessed on Tantus, which was likely taking place on countless other worlds. These events could happen all while Senator Tucci continues to support them in the Imperial Senate. Along the way, we would reunite with Cody, Wolf, and Gregor. We could even count on appearances of other fan-favorite clones like Commander Bly, Boyle, or Dogma. We last saw an Umbara. Dogma could even be given a mini arc where he shows how much he's changed since we last saw him. The site of the final confrontation could be of one of two options. The first one could be Geonosis, since it would be an irony that the clones' final stand would be where the war began. This could also be a good place because in Star Wars Rebels, we find out that the Empire wiped out the Geonosians in the preceding years in order to eliminate any trace of the Death Star plans. But perhaps the best option is the second location, Selos. This is the planet where Rex, Wolf, and Gregor had retreated to in Rebels. If the battle took place on Selos, their later retirement would be like hiding under the noses of the enemy, just as they hid Rey on Jakku, which was the site of one of the most important clashes to end the Imperial Remnant. Realistically, There's no way a Tales of Rebellion series during this time would have a happy ending. While the battle plays out on screen, we would listen to the voice of Rex, who records his own 501st journal, to make a callback to the narrations of Battlefront 2. Here, Rex would explain how he encouraged his brothers to fight for a cause they all chose, to stop at least this portion of the Imperial Army, and even to correct the wrongs they had done during Order 66. Maybe we would see a moment where the clones make a tribute to their Jedi generals and to their fallen brothers before charging into battle, yelling one last time, "For the Republic!"
Yes! Yeah!
During the fight, we would see the clones making a valiant effort to counterattack the Imperial forces. But of course, having a relatively limited number of recruits and equipment, they wouldn't be able to stand up to the might of the Empire. One by one, we would see the tragic fall of the clones we had followed since the beginning of the war as a swelling soundtrack plays. Seeing that the fight is lost, Commander Cody would give his life so that Rex, Wolf, Gregor, and Echo can make it out on the battlefield alive. But not before crossing glances with his faithful friend, Rex, one last time. Both of them would nod their heads, and then we would see the commander give his last fight all alone, in a scene worthy of Captain Fordo's from the 2D animated series. However, similar to Commander Thorn, slowly the Imperial shots would hit their target, and only after several of those shots, Cody would finally fall. Rex and the other three, while escaping on foot, would be intercepted by a sniper, who would manage to hit Echo. And although they do manage to retreat to a hidden ATTE walker, Echo takes his last breath as he says goodbye to his friend. Then we would hear Rex's narrating voice say, "At that moment, the 501st officially died." Meanwhile, Senator Chuchi would be arrested for war crimes, saying aloud that she would be always loyal to the Republic. As she's escorted away, she would deactivate the Beacon of Help, which connected her to Rex, who in turn deactivates the beacon he also had with Ahsoka and Hunter. He decides that his fighting days are over, and hangs up his helmet. We told you, this series wouldn't have a happy ending, but wars often don't. However, given how beloved the Clone Wars TV show was to viewers who have grown up since 2008, and how Tales of the Jedi and Tales of the Empire have told small, contained stories that have only enhanced several character arcs, a Tales of the Rebellion show definitely has the potential to bring a lot of returning viewers who have wondered about their favorite clones. It would also serve as a bridge between the Clone Wars era and the Rebels era. This would explain Rex's reluctance to return to the fight when the Ghost Crew was sent by Ahsoka to recruit him. So, what do you think? Would you watch a mini-series like this? Are there any other legend stories you'd like to be reinterpreted for canon? Let us know in the comments. And make sure to check out how this Legends book only improved the movie it was adapted from.